still watching This Week, and I'm Somna Sambo. Now, the Senate in the week confirmed the appointment of 3 more ministers designated to serve in the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu. The confirmation brings the total number of those in Tinubu's cabinet to 48 out of 51 names so far sent to the Senate, making it the largest since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. The latest additions are 37-year-old Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State as the new Minister of Youth Development, and Mr. Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State as Minister of State for Youth Development. Completing the list is Balarabe Abbas Lawal from Kaduna State, who replaces former Governor Nasir El-Rufai after the Senate previously failed to confirm his nomination. But we don't know of the portfolio that Balarabe Lawal will be holding. What tasks lie ahead for the ministers designate, especially in the light of the fact that they've not really started this work, and one of them actually had a situation in the Senate chamber where he had to collapse, and first aid was actually granted to him. Granted, it's almost like this happens to everyone, but of course, this also tells you the sort of exhaustion that some ministerial nominees will have to go through the Senate proceedings, and of course, even when they are confirmed and assigned portfolios, will have to face because of the crucial challenges that Nigeria faces at the moment. To help us understand the issues, we have joining us in the studio a media consultant who is also a member of the All Progressives Congress and former Commissioner for Information, Edo State, Kassim Afegbua. Thank you so much, Kassim, for helping us to understand what is going on in government. We're having a large government at the moment. President Bola Tinubu seems to be nominating more and more. Tell us, what exactly is the idea behind this large government in a time when people are saying that, look, we need to build a small government? It looks like Tinubu is saying something different from what Nigerians are actually looking at.
No, I think it's good for you to move from the known to the unknown. In terms of government, people keep talking about the size of government. We talk about size of government in a country where there is functionality of the infrastructure, where literally everything is working perfectly. But in a developing economy like Nigeria with, broken infrastructure, infrastructure that are still more or less work in progress in so many areas, you need to expand the coast, widen the coast, widen the horizon, and try as much as possible to plug in the right, individuals and persons. People talk about, you need to build a system that is functional, that works, without necessarily, having strong individuals. But people also, others have the opinion that you need strong individuals to also drive, a structure, or a system that will be able to deliver on the essentials. And so for me, 48 ministers in a country of over 200 and maybe we are nearing 230, 240 now. Census has not been conducted. But if we go by what the service providers are saying, that about 230 million Nigerians are now connected online in terms of telephony, then that means maybe we might be close to 230 to 40 million.
Well, some people also dispute that figure, saying that we're actually lower than that.
Well, if you have 48 persons manning different aspects of our life, just know that they are managing 48 challenges that are confronting us every day. That is just the implication, and they need to be on their toes. They need to be awake to their responsibility. They need to think outside the box, to ensure that they generate the right initiatives, ideas that will help to put pay to cries of poverty.
Isn't this about political compensation? Because people are also coming from that angle that, look, President Bola Tinubu is just trying to satisfy different communities, different groups, different stakeholders and all of that. In this one, he actually scored a very good goal by bringing, for the very first time, we're seeing people who are ministers of youth that are young people and not, old people. The last one, Sunday Diary, he happens to be my former editor. You could see that, he was above 50. But this time around, we have a 37-year-old as a Minister of Youth, and then, of course, someone as her deputy who's also a very young person. Is this about political compensation, or these people actually have services to deliver to Nigerians?
Well, politics elsewhere, politics all over the world has its own elemental undercurrents. In the sense that you can't get into politics, the whole essence of getting into politics for you to be able to add value to society by way of service delivery, by way of providing or using your brain to think and providing solutions to existential problems that confront human society on a regular basis. So in doing that, you need men and women that will manage those portfolios that will interconnect with the society. So persons will naturally all the time tell you, oh, it is political patronage, it is this, it is that. But you cannot do without having those men and women in places. And you're talking about the youth minister and for the first time having a younger person. For me, my idea of a youth minister is not about the age. It's about the ideas you have. What kind of ideas can you champion? What kind of experience are you going to lash onto, as a youth minister? What kind of initiatives and creativity? Do you have your hands on the job? What kind of ideas should flow in your, in your mental, system, such that we'll be able to respond to the sophistication of the youth population today and the growing agitations all over the place, talking about poverty, job creation, and so many other areas of responsibility. So, yeah, it's good to have a 37-year-old person, but I don't envy the person, because our youths are becoming more and more restive. And so to that extent, you must come out with innovations, initiatives, and creativities that suit the peculiarity of the present youth, and for them to also, see a sense of belongingness into what you are doing. There has to be a buy-in of the youth population. How many people are actually reading today, Sumner? If you talk to an average young mind, they are much in a hurry. They tell you they don't have means of livelihood they want to reason. It is not about certificated knowledge. I'm talking about just even picking a book and just reading to get an idea. Everybody's talking about fintech now. So anybody you see now is just talking fintech. It's all about how to make money. But it goes beyond that. I would want a youth system that has the infrastructure, to be able to accommodate persons of that age who can also, be encouraged to pursue their own legitimate aspirations without let or hindrance. So the youth minister and her Minister of State have a huge responsibility on their hands, And let me just make a point from your last guest, Chudi, when he was talking about the issue of wages.
And new minimum wage and all of that proposal.
You see, there's something government has to do. Before we keep talking about minimum wage. For me, having served in the state government, I would rather want the government of the day to do what we call civil service reforms. That is holistic, all embracing, and that is result driven. It is not where there's too much of you be my friend, I be your friend, kind of system in our country. We need to be able to break the earth if we want to make the omelette for the right breakfast to be served.
Are you saying that the federal bureaucracy is bloated?
The federal bureaucracy
needs more reforms?
The major problem is knowing the actual figure of those who are actually civil servants.
Well, I thought that was the reason why they brought the IPPIS. Because right now, even the federal government is saying that by 81,000 people may not benefit from this new wage award because the IPPIS details are not correct.
Individuals are the one manning the IPPS. It is garbage in, garbage out. Isn't that what you upload that you are going to see? Will the computer generate name from this thing? They will generate names for the computers. So it is not that they need a serious, holistic, result-driven civil service reform. That is where the problem is, because it is not about you to come. You go to some states, for example, they tell you they can't pay 18,000. It's a lie. There is no state in Nigeria that cannot pay even 30 or 40,000 naira. If you look at the quantum of how much they take from the issue of security votes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most of these other states and all that, their civil service may not be more than 2,000 employees, but they will tell you it is 20,000. Because that is where it is easier for them to explain away. Yes, I'm telling you. You have 2,500 workers, they will tell you it's 25,000 workers.
So a lot of ghost
They will tell you
workers.
where they collect federal allocation, they spend 4 billion to pay salaries, and then overhead they are left with a huge shortfall. And that is not true. If you carry out a holistic, civil service reform and tell the state government to also do that, then we'll be able to breathe some level of sanity into the system and have benchmarks or maybe bottlenecks that will make it difficult for persons to also, play sharp practices. It's so common in civil service.
All right, let's get back to what we're actually discussing. The ministers designates, 3 of them. We've talked about 2 now. There's a likelihood that the Kaduna State nominee, Balarabe Abbas Lawal, may likely go to the Ministry of Environment, which doesn't have a minister. Let's talk about the sort of expectations from him. You saw how exhausted he said he was, and he collapsed during the ministerial screening. Lots of persons are saying, well, he hasn't started his job, and he's already having issues. Some people said he was fasting and all of that. But the Senate was gracious enough to actually confirm him. What sort of challenges should he be expecting in the federal cabinet as he joins?
Well, you see, it's a man I know. He's been the Secretary to State Government in Kaduna under El-Rufai and continuing with Ubasani. And so he's not just anybody. He's someone who has at least the competence and the capacity to, fill that position. If he's given Ministry of Environment, he has a Herculean task on his hand in the wake of this global warming and what have you. I was initially shocked when I read about the issue of slumping and all that. But again, human nature. Even when you think you are hale and hearty, boarding a plane, you can just slump and you die. Yeah. Thank God that he didn't die. I'm happy about that. And he was also gracious enough to explain, to Nigerians the reason why he felt that way. He has tried to clear his table before proceeding on a journey from Kaduna to Abuja and all of that.
Some said he was fasting and all of that.
Happened. Whatever be the reasons, we thank God that he's alive to tell the story. It's a different thing if he has slumped and we're not able to bring him back. What about our colleague?
Unfortunately, Tijani Yunusa.
Journalist covering the National Assembly.
He was my former colleague, actually.
A wonderful fellow, a good friend and all that. He's one of those persons who promoted me in this enterprise called public advocacy and what have you. They gave me platforms and all of that. It was Rhythms FM before now.
Yeah, Silverbird TV before he moved to the Nigerian Tribune.
So, look at what happened. He slumped and he died. So
in the same National Assembly, the same day, actually.
The same day.
Such a sad development.
We thank God for Balarabe, and I know him is a very thorough, and consummate civil servant. He's very active. He's got capacity also, to drive whatever initiatives that we put before him and whatever ministry is able to put up before him. If he's made Minister of Environment, I know he's going to do well because he loves successes. You may not like El-Rufai, but when you go to Kaduna State, you see some of the projects how he did. Yeah, I think you can give the man kudos.
All right, Kassim Afegbua, there's this talk that with President Tinubu stabilizing gradually, having got the Court of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal judgment, that he's only waiting for the maybe Supreme Court judgment for him to be able to actually get the right cabinet, that these ones are majorly populated by political appointees, that it may be a different Bola Tinubu if he gets the Supreme Court judgment so as to be able to drive his cabinet properly, and there may be some cabinet reshuffle or something like that. Do you by chance believe in those kind of calculations that some people are only in this cabinet making it 48 because he needed to actually have some people And some other thinking is that maybe because of a possible rerun and all of that.
Well, the very first day you are appointed, you should be expecting that you can also be sacked. He has the power under the Constitution to hire and fire. It's a right that is guaranteed in the Constitution. And he doesn't need to look at your face for you to fire you. If he feels that you are not living up to expectations, or you are not carrying out the terms of reference of your ministry, or you are not discharging your responsibility to the best of your ability, which also form part of your oath of office. And so, as a president, he alone knows the destination he's taking us, because in the lives of nations, presidents have their own ideas, they have their agenda, they canvass for votes, and when they are given, they choose men and women who they think, in their own estimation, can help drive those narratives, those agenda to fruition, so that we see the good side of it. There are no end solution to problems. You know, when there are problems, you have to assemble people to think outside the box, generate ideas that can mitigate those kind of problems. That's how nations grow. So for me, the 48 persons, I'm not seeing it as unwieldy. But again,
well, some Nigerians will disagree with you.
No, you see, I'm looking at the utility, nature of the appointees, the ministry, and what they are able to bring on the table. Sumner, if we are able to bring down pump price of fuel to 200 or 150, Nigerians will celebrate.
Is that still possible in the Nigeria of today?
Wait. It can be done if the refineries in Port Harcourt and some other areas are put to use. You see, but putting it to use, you also need serious orientation, attitudinal orientation of minds of those who are running these places. Because we keep talking about refinery, we are not even looking at the human factor in those places. There are people who profit from a broken system. There are people who also will profit from a functional system.
Yeah, of course. If that happens to 200 naira per litre, I'm telling you, it will still be sold outside the borders.
You see, it is not about that. How do you make it possible for fuel to be taken outside the border? That's another issue. So you also need a functional security system. And so, are we the only country producing oil? No. How are others doing it? So that's why I talked about attitudinal reorientation of minds. Our attitude to crass materialism is so disturbing, so disturbing to the point that almost everybody is talking about how to get this. Whether the process is right or not, they don't care to know. So for me, I think we should allow these persons, these appointees, the benefit of the doubt that they understand the problems that Nigerians are facing, because they go around every day and they are ready to put in their thinking cap to
Kassim, Afegbua, I won't allow you go without asking you this question. Do you think that these political distractions that President Bola Tinubu is having, according to some of your APC members, that's how they look at it, they say it's political distractions. Do you think that they are affecting the renewed hope agenda of the federal government as it stands, or that campaign document, which is now being translated into government policies, is still at work, and nothing is distracting this government in its decision to actually deliver good governance to Nigerians?
I think the president is focused, if you ask me, because I follow meticulously what they have been doing and all that. This is just needless noise. I don't call it distraction. He has said that we should not sympathize with him, that he's used to insults.
Yeah, and he asked for the job.
Yeah, he asked for the job, and he campaigned for the job. He went around the country and all of that. But again, needless noise in the marketplace, anything you call it, the government of the day must focus his eyes right on the ball, because if he succeeds, the credit goes to him. If he fails, the credit goes to him. So,
to him and the APC, actually.
Yes, to him, essentially to the president. You see, the party must get its ass together, and they are doing that. They've been able to put in place a new leadership and all of that. There has to be a robust, exchange of ideas between the party and the government and all of that, because it is an APC-led, federal government. Even though there are persons who are not APC who are also part of it, they are Nigerians. They have the right to also be part of it. But again, the president must not lose focus. Listening to all these side talks here and there, he must have his eyes.
Those are things that he would have a team that has to deal with it, because there are things that he should also be concerned about.
Yeah, he must put his eyes on the ball. For me, I don't see anything that is enough to distract him, because he's been sworn in. He's the president of the country. Nigerians, 8.7 million Nigerians voted for him and all that. Those who couldn't produce votes, they are trying to use, come into the reins of power through the back door. It will be quite unfortunate for me.
It's all politics, and you and I know better.
No, you can say it's all politics, but it is good if the overriding aim of your aspiration is for the good of the country. And we have won a president now. We should leave all this aside and encourage the president to put his eyes right on the challenges facing us, so that we can get a lot of solutions. Because situations like this will only promote economic buccaneers and predictors.
Well, Kassim Afegbua, he's not the first person. President Tinubu is not the first person to face this kind of things. Even Buhari faced it, and he did his 8 years and all of that. So these issues arise every now and then. You know how
Tinubu understands issues better.
Yeah, and our former President Buhari then said that Nigeria's politics can be too noisome sometimes. It can be very noisy. But of course, you know that better than myself. But just before I let you go, Kassim, my last guest actually said his mind concerning a new national minimum wage. If you were to be given an opportunity to actually review the agitations for a new national minimum wage, what would that be? A new wage that you think that can actually meet the needs of Nigerian workers?
That is the barest minimum.
Yes, yes.
That 100,000 will be a good way to start.
Okay.
Because in doing that, I would deliberately and consciously make sure that I carry out a civil service reform. Okay. There are too many ghost workers. Okay. In our system. If you weed them out, then the functionality of that 100,000 will be much felt by the individual. But when you have, you see, it is government, the civil service that implements your policies and programs and what have you. But again, you must ensure that you are able to weed out people who don't exist, but who exist on
Kassim,
paper.
You will have the labor to battle with when you do that weeding. Too many people have to go. I don't have to. But I just had to bring that one, because also the politics of being in government for the APC.
Let me tell you, I don't have to pander to labor, because the population of civil servants in Nigeria is very minute.
Okay.
The population of civil servants, and whatever they desire, more or less affects almost everything that we think about. Once this minimum wage comes now, it will affect me as a private employer of labor.
Okay, Kassim, unfortunately we don't have enough time, but I had to throw that in because it's another form of politics itself between labor and federal government, and of course
labor must be realistic.
Those issues.
See, it is better you promise what is realistic. And it is about time for us to begin to look inwards to say that states, we should not be paying uniform salary. Okay. Somebody who is living in Jigawa State cannot pay the same salary with somebody who is living in Lagos.
Yes, Kassim Afegbua is a member of the All Progressives Congress. He's also a media consultant and, of course, a former commissioner for information in Edo State. We must thank you immensely for helping us to understand the thinking behind the new 3 ministers designate that we have, and, of course, how the cabinet will help to deliver the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. And that's how it's been on this edition of This Week. I'm Somna Sambo.